So now we're presented with a position, how to get a Philidor. And let's just say we play like this, then this is the typical Philidor's defense. And your aim is for this structure. Rook E1 to defend the pawn, C6, threatening B5, A4, and we get this Philidor. So that's, you know, if you can get this every time, that would be fine if you want to play the Philidor. You can play B6 or just A6, B6, A6, B5 eventually, bishop B7, nice and solid formation. However, to get this position without queens is, to keep the queens on is very difficult to do because with every move order there's a problem. First, let's talk about 1d6. D6 many players play, D4, and they try to go now E5 if they like. This was another move order Lombardi liked to play to get a Philidor, E5. The problem with this is, well, not that it's so great for white, but white could, if he wanted to, exchange queens. And yeah, white would be maybe marginally better in this position with the queens. You wouldn't want to put your knight on C3 because then C6. So maybe knight could come to D2 in some variations. Okay, so that's one issue. And again, you could also D4, D5, you could play knight F3 first. And let's talk about it like this. E5, knight F3, D6, D4, also knight F6 is played often to try and get knight C3 and knight D7 in. But then, after knight F6, there's DE5 again, okay? And DE5, queen D8, so knight takes E4, and again, white's slightly better maybe, but it's not very exciting. So pieces are coming off. Okay, so knight F3, D6, D4. Now let's try knight D7. This was the old move, knight to D7. All right. I usually look at this from the white perspective. Let's try knight D7. Now, let's play bishop C4 here. Bishop C4. Now, black to move, unless he takes on D4, which is a concession and gives away the space. What normal developing move can he make? Any suggestions? Yeah, so knight D7 it's the classical move, but it offers a clear advantage to white now, right? So yeah, knight D7 is superior to bishop G4, definitely, because after bishop G4 that we have the opera game, DE5, and then bishop takes F3, queen takes F3 is the opera game. I'm sure Fischer also suggested here after DE5 is an improvement to the opera game, knight D7, which is a gambit. This is another gambit in the Philidor. Instead of giving away the bishop pair, you gambit, take, and bishop takes D6, queen E7, castle's long. This is playable, but obviously white's better. This was analyzed by Lasker. Okay, so knight D7. You know what? I can't. I'm going to flip it because I usually talk about this from the white point of view, and some of these variations are too mock for me to look at from the black point of view. So, yeah. So D4, knight D7, bishop C4, and I teach this all the time in lectures. So after bishop C4, anyone in the chat can suggest a good move for black to make. Should we play knight F6 or bishop E7? You see, Andromeda, it wasn't always going to be blitz. We're going to get something out of it. It's not just going to be degenerating and waking up for blitz. We're going to show some discipline in the early morning hours. We're going to try and enunciate our words, make some sort of sense. And okay, so bishop E7, great. It's a logical looking move. It actually loses by force immediately, which shows just how difficult the position is. So after bishop E7, Kez's move C6 is correct. So but bishop E7 loses. Why does it lose? Because of D takes E5, and we can't play D takes E5. I mean, we can do it, but we don't want to make this move as white unless we have clear-cut tactics. Because if we take on E5 for no reason, then it just gives black the center back, and we lose our space advantage. You can see that we have a space advantage. We don't want to just give it away with d takes e5 for no reason. But now d takes e5 has a tactical game. D takes e5 and then queen d5 is winning. Shows just how mock this knight on d7 is. There's no bishop e6. So queen d5, threatening queen f7. And that's resigned. So it just completely wins. Bishop on e7. There's no queen e7. You mean e takes d4? We're going to get to that. You mean this? We're going to get to that. This is similar in the Mora. We have these situations as well. You have a position like this, you know, and we could have a situation in the opponent. I've had opponents make a move like this and they lose to queen d5 immediately. Okay, so same thing. So it's part of open game principles. So we're going to get to that knight b3. Bishop c4, I'm very excited to talk about this. It's a very fun lecture. Bishop e7, d e5. Again, if knight takes e5, we win a pawn. So d e5, queen d5 is winning. Knight takes e5, knight e5 takes, and now double attack, queen h5, picking up the pawn. Double attack, and he has to play g6, and then queen takes e5. Okay. So this bishop e7 doesn't work. You can play c6 if you like. If you try to play knight f6, you have a crisis on f7. We don't need to play knight g5 first because of d5. So first we clarify the situation. We play d e5. If he plays knight takes e5, we pick up a nice little tactic, knight e5, and we could take this way, but then he could take bishop f7, knight e4. So no queen d8, king d8, bishop f7, knight e4 first, bishop takes f7 instead, exclamation. And actually, the best move for black would be to play king takes f7, give away his queen because he's going to get it back after bishop b4 check. Check. And then we get something for the queen. We go back, queen d2, typical tactics, patterns, knight takes d2, white's up a pawn. So white's winning that position as well. Okay, so knight f6 doesn't work because of d, knight g5 is winning again. All right. So that's why they have to play c6. And we're going to talk about c6 first, next, but before we do that, knight b3 asked about e d4, and then bishop e7. Now knight b3, the best move here is knight f6. If you play bishop e7, you lose by force, and this position can be found in Art of the Checkmate, where I first learned it. My coach Calvin Blocker taught it to me as well. Bishop, and he taught this to me when he taught me the Opera Box game in the Morphy versus the Duke. So bishop e7, I teach this to my students usually in the first lesson. Bishop e7, white to move and win by force, and it's very difficult when you're learning chess to find this tactic. So let's see white to move and win. You could send me the answer through puzzle. Please don't say it in the chat or you'll be banned. Let's unban Hisoka. He's had enough of a ban, Andromeda. For now, we can unban him. You got it, Samith? Okay. You got it? Okay, banned. Sorry, Samith. You got it so quickly, then you've been banned. Okay, you're unbanned too. Andromeda got it within 4 seconds. Good memory. Good. Sleepy Mario got it. I don't know, Samith. I don't know, because it was just part of the fun. No, your memory is doing fine. Yeah, Jim, just saying bishop f7 is not enough. I mean, obviously the first move is bishop f7, but what happens after that? Samith, your answer to queen e8 is partially correct, okay? But there's more to it after queen e8, okay? Okay, knight b3, I want you to think about what happens after queen h5. So everybody suggests bishop f7, king f7, most students queen h5. It looks nice, it looks tasty, but the problem is, after g6, then we go queen d5, right? And if king e7, king g7, so this is the position. So bishop f7, king h7, king f7, queen h5. Thank you, purple turtle. Queen h5, g6, queen d5 check, king g7, knight e6, if king f8, knight e6. And what happens after king e8? Does knight e6 win the queen, knight b3? You answer that. Now, I suggest not touching the pieces, trying to work on your visualization skills. Try and hold the position in your mind. See how far you can get. Good, Samith got it right. Maybe, apparently. Technically, the moves that he suggested were correct. So, give credit where credit's due. Samith got it right. I mean, I don't know if he got it right or not. But, well, what can I say? It looks like he got it right. So I'm going to, yes, Jim, correct. Very good. Yes, but there's very good. So knight b3, do you see what happens after knight e6 at the end? Bishop f7, king f7, queen h5, g6, queen d5, king e8, knight e6. What happens? Okay, so bishop f7, king f7, queen h5, king f8, knight e6, king f6, queen f5 is made, g6, queen d5, king g7 check, king f8 check, and king e8. This looks winning for white at a glance, but the problem is, sure, Japanese tutor later after this. Knight e6, actually black is defending with knight f6 or knight b6. These moves win by force for black. See? Because now we attack the queen and threaten the knight. In between move, yes. Zwischenschlag, or the German that I butchered there, but the correct the word is the in-between move, and this is winning for black. So bishop f7 with queen h5 does not work, knight b3. However, bishop f7 does win by force in this position, but it's not queen h5. Some of you already got the right move. The right move is very beautiful. It connects with the fact that knight d7 blocks this bishop on c8. So, yes, your variation is correct. Your variation, yes. So is Andromeda's, by the way. White to move and win. Sleepy Mario got it. Jim got it. Yes. And your knight b3 got it too. Great. Knight b3 got it. Knight e6. Beautiful move. Knight e6. And this is an Art of the Checkmate, chapter 3, I believe. King takes e6, queen d5, king f6, and queen f5 mate. Very beautiful knight e6. With this knight on e6, it's just crushing, and it gets even more awesome. It just continues, and this is a position that Calvin taught me to we're going to bring Calvin on. I just have to reach him. I've been so busy. I was meaning to call him yesterday. I will call him this week, and I want to bring him on. And we're going to share Calvin here as well, so you all get to meet Calvin. Knight e6, queen e8, he's just busy, and I've been mocked with my sleep times. But knight c7. We do not. Now, Samith suggested knight a8 at first. This is why I give him credit. The fact that he was suggesting knight 8, it's a wrong move. And then later, look, now Samith, you don't want to take the rook on a8. Your knight is more powerful than a rook, band rook on a8, than the knight's in the corner. It doesn't do anything. So queen and knight is the most powerful attacking combination in chess. You want to use that to your advantage. You don't want to play knight a8. Okay, so queen d5, exclamation, first. Queen d5. Again, if king f6, mate. King g6, mate. And now king f8 wins the queen. But, of course, king f7, double check. But it gets better than that. Will you not? Do we take the queen? Yes or no? Obviously, if we were to take the queen, I wouldn't have asked this question. Samith Fish won. That's pretty funny, actually. That's pretty funny. There's only one. Actually, that's Andromeda. We got to give him credit. It's actually pretty funny. So knight g7 for the mock. First, best move. It's not just for the mock. It's actually force mate in 4 moves. Actually, yeah. So knight g7 check. 1. King f8. And now knight e6. And everybody thinks it's about taking the queen. King e8, mate. And if he plays king f7, most players would take the queen, double check, but you have to search for the truth. This is a good move, double check, but there's a better move. There's a better move than knight takes d8, and the better move is queen h5, double exclaim. And after king takes e6, mate. Okay. Exactly. We eliminate the g-pawn, so there's no... I should have verbalized that, but, you know, it's early in the morning. But that's why we, you know, this would be made if there's no g-pawn, so we eliminate the pawn with check, and then we made him. So that explains why you can't... Thank you very much, Knight B3, Hunter's mock. That explains why we cannot play bishop e7. But you can take on d4, and then you could play knight f6. This is playable, but white has a nice solid game with the better development and more space. Knight is strong in the center. So this is not theoretically that great for black, although many pros will play it. It's not that appetizing for me, but it's playable. But it's a little passive. But it's not the standard Philidor with the pawn on e5. So to maintain the pawn on e5 in the Philidor is very difficult, and have a normal position. So after knight d7, bishop c4, the best move if you want to maintain the Philidor integrity of the Philidor structure is to play c6, stopping queen d5, and either we can castle or play knight c3. Let's just play knight c. Okay, we'll just play knight c3 for example. Okay, how you doing, Fuzzy? Thank you for the raid. Now, if knight f6, again, then pawn takes e5. Pawn takes e5. If knight e5, take, and we have bishop f7 check again. Same problem. And if he takes with d e5, knight g5 is winning yet again. So he can't play knight f6. So now he could play bishop e7. And now, after bishop e7, this was a position that was played often. Tal has a game in this position, Boleslavsky as well. Many, I think, games where white's dominating. You can check the database, but Tal has a nice win here, where he won pretty cleanly. And the best move now, you could just castle and let black get the Philidor structure, but actually, the best move is to play d e5, and you need to, when you play d e5, you better have a reason to do it. Otherwise, you're just giving away the space. So, hold on. d e5, and if knight takes e5, again, we win a pawn. Takes, and queen h5, queen e5 is winning. Okay. So instead, d takes e5, and now, I had this position with Billy, playing him blindfold game. Knight g5, exclaim. And the idea and this was the tallest game, knight g5. If bishop takes g5, white gets the bishop pair with queen h5. So positional move, knight g5, combined with tactics, or I should say laced with tactics. The idea is bishop g5, queen h5, threatening queen f7, and if g6, queen takes g5. And after queen g5, black's dark square is a little bit compromised, and Tal went on to win a nice game, and other players have won in this position. This is like +1 for white, and this is why this move order sort of disappeared from tournament practice. I remember masters in New York were playing this against me as late as, you know, early 2000s, but I didn't know what I was doing then, so they were getting away with it. But this is just an easy position for white. Easy position for white. It gets better knight b3 because after knight g5, Billy played knight h6 against me. And I don't really, it doesn't matter what Blowfish says, but what did I play in this position? Blindfold blitz game. White to move, what's the most powerful move to play in this position from a practical point of view? White to move. No, you could try queen h5, but then castles. Okay, so white to move. What do you guys think? Yeah, I mean, queen h5, castles, no? Queen h5, castles, bishop f7, rook f7. Yes, exactly, knight e6. Knight e6 is what I played, exclamation. And Billy was shocked by this, you know, after fe, now I played bishop takes h6. Bishop takes h6. He was a little shocked. I mean, he should just castle and get out of there. Exactly, knight e6, looking for the truth. Fe, bishop takes h6, and after gh6, it was funny, it was a blindfold game in public, queen h5, he was talking trash, and after king f8, bishop takes e6, and I remember it, and then he was like, wow, unbelievable. And he was really happy, actually, even in this game, he really loved it. Queen f7, and if he stops it with queen e8, it's mate, queen h6. Queen h6 mate. So I was really happy to play that little blindfold blitz game one time. So there you go. Okay, so that answers why knight d7 is such a difficult move to play. Okay, so again, and I just want to explain Lombardi's logic behind the whole thing. So yeah, so knight d7 blocks everything, and you can see there's a crisis. After bishop c4, knight f6 doesn't work. He loses to take, and knight g5. Bishop e7 doesn't work, loses to bishop e7 doesn't work, loses to takes, and queen d5. So has to play c6, and then c6, knight c3, knight f6 doesn't work, again takes, knight g5, or bishop e7, take it, and knight g5. And then if bishop g5, queen h5, or knight h6, there's knight e6. So knight d7 is very unpleasant to play. And of course, this was the Opera game. They tried bishop g4 against Morphy. This doesn't work either. You want to develop knights before bishops. Pawn takes pawn. And if pawn takes pawn, queen takes queen, and knight e5. So bishop f3, queen f3. And this was the famous Opera game, Morphy versus Duke. Duke and count. Knight f6. If he goes queen f6, there's queen b3. Weak all over the place. b6, knight c3, c6, knight d5. Exclam. If he moves his queen, there's knight b6, and bishop takes f7, bishop g8. If he takes here, well, he's going to lose the rook. So if he does this, knight b6, and take. Just a little glimpse into this game. Bishop b5 check. I've analyzed this a million times. I've analyzed this position I've taught this game so many times that it's just like back of my hand. But I teach it all the time as a beginner game. I don't know, Kyle, if you've seen the Opera game, but it's one of the greatest games ever played by Morphy. I'll show it briefly. I'm not going to lecture on it too much, but you can review it for fun. Queen b3, double attack on b7 and f7, threatening mate in 2, bishop f7, queen e6. If he plays queen d7, okay, then we're going to talk about it. If he plays queen d7, then queen takes b7. If queen c6, bishop b5. All right. So black has to defend b7 and f7, or he can only defend one. But they played a really good move, queen e7. And the point was Morphy was being taken to the opera by these, by the Duke and the Count in Paris. And they love chess. Morphy just wanted to watch the opera, but they wanted to play him in chess for the mock of it. So he wanted to make sure to finish them as quickly as possible in the intermission so he can get back to the opera. So that's why in this position he was hesitant to play queen takes b7, because then he might have missed his opera and won in 40 moves. After queen takes b7, queen b4 check, he would have won a long drawn out ending in 40 moves. So there's a history behind this game. And then he would have won, and now Carlsen would have played queen b7, Karpov, Botvinnik, they wouldn't have, even if there was opera or no opera, they would have played queen b7 as part of a style. It's winning by force for white, queen b7. Long endgame. But, well, not even long, but, 40 moves, they'll win easily. No risk. Players who want no risk, they'll play this move. But guys like Tal, Ayokin, Morphy, they'll play knight c3. Stopping queen b4, threatening queen takes b7, knight c3. Okay, queen b7 is threatened now. So black should play c6, sort of to stop c6, stop queen b7, so c6. Okay. And now, I look rested, really? Interesting. Well, I did get some sleep. I mean, I was banned in the bed for a while, so c6. And now Morphy develops the bishop, not to e3, but to g5. It's one of the most economical, efficient games in the history of chess. It really taught us how to develop our pieces, how to play freely. Okay, now black to move us. This is such problems here for black. He can't really move. If he plays h6, then bishop takes f6. Queen f6, queen b7. And if gf, then this whole structure is bad, and we can eventually reroute the knight to f5. It's a very ugly position. Is it worth more than the pawn advantage? Blowfish says they're roughly similar. You could see +2, even knight a6 as the other move suggested. Just terrible positions for black. Is it basically the same almost? So different players debate whether you should play queen b7 or knight c3. It's a nice little debate on this game. But Morphy wasn't interested in debate. He was interested in checkmating the opponent as quickly as possible. And they played b5. Classical mistake. Why is it a violation, as Calvin taught me, to lash out when you have no development? You can't do that. If you do, you'll get banned. Lashing out with no development is a recipe for disaster. So if I have students here who suggest bishop e2, I don't want to ban the student. I'm trying to teach, I'm trying to be positive, but I'm a little disappointed. I want to see my students look for something else other than bishop e2. I won't put my bunny ears on or anything, but I don't want to see bishop e2 in this position. So take the pawn. Do we take with the bishop or the knight? What's the better piece to sacrifice? Nope. Yeah, bishop f1 is definitely mocked, yeah. We take with the knight. Knight takes b5, c b5, and bishop takes b5. If king d8, it's going to just castle, do some crazy stuff. Notice Morphy hasn't castled yet. So, knight d7, now this knight is immobilized, and this knight is immobilized. Both knights are immobilized, and Morphy, of course, now brought more fuel to the fire, and castled long. Just every move with force development, threatening rook d7, bishop d7, bishop f6. And if black tries to mock it back and castles with no pawn cover, well then he gets mated in two. My king is tucked in the covers like a baby. His king is not doing so well. Yep, this is already a weak move. You shouldn't move your bishops before knight. Fischer's comments on chessgames.com are pretty funny. A brilliant problem. Yeah, he says this is already a weak move. Bishop g4. And the reason you shouldn't move your bishops before knights, which he doesn't clarify, which he knew, is because the bishops, it's more flexible. It depends on the pawn structure, the ever-changing game state of the board. But knights, usually c6, f6, f3, c3, or, knights are I would say less flexible in the opening. I mean, sometimes you can go to the edge, but usually it's into the center, and then you wait to see, depending on what the opponent does, and then you can commit with the bishops. If you move your bishops too soon, they can be driven away by pawns quickly as well, or it gives the opponent too much time to adapt. So I thought about this, why Capablanca said knights before bishops. So yeah, and knight e2, yeah, I forgot about that, but knight e2, yeah, knight e2 is a little bit, Fischer would say, this is already, you know, maybe you should move your knight to f3 instead of e2. Well, I don't know what he'd say, you know, it depends, maybe he'd be in a good mood. I mean, who knows, but usually, yeah, knights go to f3 over or knight g3 sometimes. I mean, it depends on the position. Now, another game where Fischer won, where the opponent played bishop g4, we can look at that. We'll look at that next. We're going to look at that game next after I have a piece of chicken, where Black brought out the bishop g4 grandmaster against Fischer, and we're going to look at that, how he destroyed him in that position. So knight d7, and now castle long. Castle long, and everything's threatened. He's got to play rook d8. Now this position is winning easily for white. He could play rook d3, rook d2. These moves win easily, but Morphy, you know, was the first player to invent, I would say, and Calvin said this as well. This is the first lesson Calvin taught me. He's the first player to replace a piece of lesser value on the pin line with a piece of greater value. So rook takes d7, putting this rook onto the pin line, and so rook takes d7, and now this rook is immobilized as well. Can't take with a knight, so rook d7, and then the rook flows, rook d1. Rook d1, threatening rook takes d7, bishop d7, bishop f6. Every move is winning now, so instead, what is this game? This is an advanced game, Andromeda. Totally different than what we're looking at. Nimzo Indian, pretty interesting game. Oh, 92, yeah, 92. But that's interesting. Yeah, so that's in a Nimzo Indian Samish variation usually, and the f5 square is really weak, and also there you want to play f4. So yeah, 92, exactly. It's not like 92 is never played. That's the beauty in chess of the harmonious starting positions of knights on b1 and g1, is that most of the time it is knight f3 and knight c3, but sometimes it's going to be knight e2 or knight d2, occasionally knight h3 or knight a3, very rarely, but there is knight e2 and knight d2 depending, or knight c4, knight f4, knight g3, or knight b3, right, knight b3, so there is that possibility, but so to say something never occurs is dogmatic and one-dimensional. Really, you know, of course, it can go to e2 as well sometimes. Yeah, and Kyrgios would mock it with 2 knight e2 as well. So threatening rook d7, bishop d7. So Black played queen e6. Morphy wanted to go back to the opera. He could have played bishop takes f6, and if queen takes b3, then bishop d7 is mate. He could have done that if he wanted to, but instead, you know, if gf, then bishop d7 is winning easily. Instead, he played a very beautiful move. He saw it within a flash, and he played bishop takes d7. To Kyle, what happens after bishop d7? Obviously, queen d7 is winning at least the whole queen. We don't even take on d7. We play queen b8 first check, king e7, queen takes e5. If queen e6, then it's mate in 2 moves. So he has to play king d8, and then we don't take the queen. We play check first, and we take, and then we take, and we're left not with queen versus rook and bishop, but queen versus bishop. I knew you had. See, I knew you'd remember the end. I know you have. But that's okay. I'm glad to do it again. I thought you'd seen it. Yeah, exactly. I remember. But I didn't say anything. I thought you'd seen it. But once you see this, you remember bishop takes d7, but some people haven't seen it here, so it's always good to review. Knight takes d7, and again, I want to show this game to inspire, really. I mean, it's so beautiful. And queen b8, and it's just a beautiful economical finish. Takes, and rook t8 is mate. Rook t8 is mate. I put this in my book, Opera Game. I put it in my book as well. This is inspirational for any chess player, any level. Rook d8 and wins. Okay, so before we finish up with the Philidor, we talked about bishop g4 not being so great. Knight d7 blocks the pieces. Bishop on c8 is blocked. Knight f6 is the best move, actually, I would say. Knight b3, the hand-hand variation. You just have to be prepared to play this position after d e5. Knight takes e4. Not that it's so great for white, but you have to be prepared for it. But it's not a classical Philidor structure, so we can get positions like knight c7. Okay, I mean knight c5 there. So this is not like totally just a straight Philidor defense. But if you want to, then knight c3 and now knight d7, and this is a different move order: bishop c4, bishop e7, and white castles. So you can get the normal Philidor structure: rook e1, defending this pawn, c6, threatening b5, and then a4. And this is a normal Philidor. Black can play a5 or b6, and all this business is fine. Question is, and I thought about this as a kid when I had this in the Miami Chess Club: bishop c4, bishop e7, because I wanted to just cause chaos during the games, and I was looking deeply. I spent all my time against a good friend of mine here, and the right move is castles, but I ended up playing bishop takes f7 here because I thought that maybe I could win this position after bishop f7, king f7, knight g5. Right? Because then if king f8, knight e6, if king e8, knight e6, but bishop f7 actually passes the advantage to black. Take, knight g5, with king g8, and now knight e6, queen e8, knight takes c7, queen g6, and black is more developed and black's better, because if knight takes a8, then black has massive counterattack for the exchange. He's only down in exchange, but he has the bishop pair, and the king is very bad. I lost this position. My friend knew this, and it was a good lesson for me. Knight e5. I was just like 13 or 14. I remember but I wanted to play a bishop, and I studied the game deeply, of course, and then I played a bishop f7 too in a tournament against the 1900 and won a few years ago. So it's possible to win it, but it's dicey. So that's a little trick in the Philidor defense as to why this move order in the hand-ham is the best move order. But it does allow for d e5, knight e4, and again, so does this move order. D4, e5, knight f3, now knight f6. What is it? What was I? Oh yeah, sorry. d6, this is another move order. d4, knight f6. I had this in Europe against a GM in a key game trying to win the tournament. Ended up drawing, but knight c3, he played e5. This is another way to pass into the hand-hand variation, e5. So this is a different move order. d6, d4, knight f6, hitting the pawn, knight c3. You could also play f3 if you wanted to. Kasparov has before. This gets in this sort of King's Indian structures. Hey Jules, long lecture. You can review later. So we're in a lecture mode. First we went into blitz mode, now lecture. Knight c3, e5. Okay. And then if knight f3, we transpose into the hand-hand with knight d7. But I went for d e5, which is playable. And this is another position, but it's not a straight Philidor. And if you're black, you don't want to allow this. It could be difficult. Knight f3, and then knight d7, and then there's bishop c4, no? Or knight g5, yeah. Knight g5 and bishop c4. So after knight f3, bishop d6, and then I played bishop g5. which is a little bit unpleasant for black. Castles could be tough. He ended up okay, but I ended up playing this position, and it's not quite the same as a Philidor structure. So that gets us back to the original question as to why Queen E7, and that's why Lombardi played it, because Queen E7 was his move order to avoid all of this. You could play it on move 2 or move 3. D6, D4, and now Queen E7 looks totally outlandish, but it avoids all of these Philidor problems. Of course, there are issues with this as well. Fischer is not the biggest fan, but you see there's no direct win. Bishop C4, we don't play Knight F6 because of Knight G5 ideas. I mean, I guess we could, but H6 first. Knight C3, you can see there's no direct win. Knight C3 and then C6. So this was really is brilliant. C6 and then castles and then Knight F6. And you can see no force win. A4, A5. And then bring the queen to C7. You can see no force win. And then Queen C7, Rook E1, Queen C7, Bishop E7. I mean, maybe Hisoka could. Did we unban Hisoka or not? Did you unban him? Yeah, I thought he was unbanned a while ago. So that does that answer the question? Knight B3 as to why Queen E7, so it avoids all of those variations. So that's the zero theory mock, Queen E7, and that was his idea. It's a hilarious move to it's a hilarious move to avoid the theory. Well, yeah, I mean, if played properly, you can get in some Knight H4 and F4 and some sharp variations, but White really needs to know what he's doing. Okay, Andromeda, link me the game Fischer Benko now, please. 1962 or 3. All right. Give me some more. Get some more chicken. Yeah, we're not finished though. So this idea of bishops before knights, or just playing bishop g4 too soon, we're going to look at as well. Thank you very much, Knight B3. In the number 3, in the number 2 spot. Thank you. Let me get another. You linked the game, Andromeda? Yeah, he knew. He knew which game I was talking about. Okay, so Dekai, we're going to look at this. Hold on. Okay, so this was Fischer Benko U.S. Championship 1963. And you play this opening as black sometimes too. Okay, Fischer went for the straight Austrian attack. Getting the space. One of the sharpest ways to play against the modern defense. And here, black should have thought about another move other than bishop g4. Maybe black should have played c5 here. Something to put pieces in the center. Just something to fight back. I think c5. Or knight c6, see? So again, Blowfish says knights before bishops. I don't know about c5. Yeah, c5 is playable. Or knight c6. The move bishop g4, however, will be frowned upon by any modern grandmaster, and is a weak move. Wouldn't be done today at a top level. No way. Not a chance. I mean, I would wish for that to happen in a game. It would be a day, an easy day, basically. But it won't happen today. Among a good pro, no way. Bishop g4. And this gives up the bishop pair, and it overcommits the position. Now white already has a nice advantage. He played knight c6, bishop e3, and the advantage grows. Okay. e5, de, de, and f5. Going for the favorite move, f4, f5, and a massive kingside attack. And those who haven't seen this game are really going to like this game. f5. Maybe g4, g5, or castle long, and a wild attack will ensue. You never know. But Benko took, queen takes f5. And now black's kingside, as you can see, is very compromised already. Castles, bishop c4, very, very compromised kingside. So, queen f2, right? And now queen may come to h4 in the future, or castle short. And castle's long. Both moves are dominating for white. The knights are fragile compared to the bishops. Castles. Knight d6 is a sort of artificial piece placement. And now queen g3. And he's going to creep up with the queen. This knight belonged on f6 maybe, but again bishop g5 and queen h4 was really strong, so he's going to creep up with the queen to h5. A little 3 moves creeping, queen h5, and eyeing h7. Eyeing h7, threatening. Bishop takes d4, and maybe e5. So Benko cleverly tries to stop this e5 threat with a, you might have thought it was a clever move at the time, or who knows, he was probably scared in this position. But what do I mean by artificial piece placement is that the better word is not superficial but artificial, in the sense that it's not going to last. It's fragile is a good word for it. The knights can't withstand the pressure of these bishops in this position. So Benko played the move queen e8 here, hoping for what? For bishop takes d4, e takes d4, e5, threatening mate, and then this clever little move, f5, hitting the queen. And there's no en passant, wouldn't work, because then queen takes h5. So Benko went for this. Bishop takes d4, d4, e5, f5. Now my friend of mine who was a kid, who was actually there, and I've told the story, he was relaying the game on the big demo board, and when the move was played, he didn't even believe. He thought it was a relay error. He didn't believe that this move was actually played. I mean, he couldn't believe it. He was just a kid. He was like Smith's age, actually, at the time. I mean, rook f6 now just hangs a piece. So white to move and win. You can suggest a sequence if you haven't seen it. Please try and send it in the puzzles if you can. Yeah, correct. Smith got it again. It's unbelievable. He always gets the answer. Yes, correct. Mm-hmm. Yes, knight b3, very good. You seen it before, knight b3, this game? If not, that's great. That's really one of the most famous moves in chess. Kez knows it too. Okay, somebody's seen it, cool. It's great. 60 memorable, okay. So take. So Fischer played takes. And rook f6. And black has to resign because there's no more f5. So after bishop takes f6, e5, and mate. So he just. Oh, bishop d4 is easy to see. I mean, once you see that e5, f5 fails, then you look for creative solutions. You play rook f6, take. Yeah. So if takes e5. So again, this all happened because black played bishop g4, bishop f3, which is similar violation of principle to the Opera Box game, just at a higher level, 100 years later. And then e5. And h6, just very calm move. Knight e2. Knight e2. Yeah, you could request games to be analyzed. Depends. I mean, I do it sometimes, but depends on how I'm feeling and the mood. But you can request. And a bishop f6, queen h6. Okay, let me get some chicken again.